Hey everyone, my name is Brady and welcome to Niner Talk, by Niner fans, for Niner fans. Now the biggest question about the 2023 49ers defense is who is going to start at edge opposite of Nick Bosa? Now it would make sense for Drake Jackson to take that role given that he was drafted in the second round last year, but Niner fans all offseason have been clamoring for the team to add another edge rusher. So I am here to present the case against making a move for a veteran edge rusher this offseason. But before we get into it, if you like the video, be sure to leave a like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more. Now, in case you aren't familiar, there are a couple of main reasons why the 49ers would want to add an edge rusher. The first one being they lost 3 of them this spring. Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, and Jordan Willis all left the 49ers in free agency. And combined, the 3 of those guys played about 700 snaps. And that's not nothing. That's a pretty significant number. Somebody has to play those snaps. The second reason is there's a ton of guys available. If you look at trade targets, there's Danielle Hunter and Chase Young. If you look at free agency, there's Yannick Ngakoue, there's Jadeveon Clowney. I could go on. But the third reason is adding a premier edge rusher, adding a really top flight guy at that position would bring this defensive line and this defense as a whole to heights that they have not seen since 2019. Keep in mind, this is a team who had the number 1 defense in the league last year. If they add a premier edge rusher, a really top shelf guy, who's to say they couldn't do it again, right? And those are all valid points. Those make a lot of sense, but there's more to consider. The Niners are about to enter a pivotal year in their franchise's history because this young core that they've built that's gotten them to NFC Championship after NFC Championship, they're about to get very expensive. And of course, it's going to help that the quarterback is cheap. And it doesn't really matter who the quarterback I'm talking about is because they're all cheap, right? It's going to help, but this roster is probably going to need some retooling soon anyways. If you look at the numbers, right now the 49ers have roughly $272 million in player contracts for 2024. Over the cap projects the 2024 cap number to be roughly $256 million, which means the 49ers are already $16 million over the cap for next season. Something's going to have to give. Retoolings are going to happen. Because this isn't even including Nick Bosa's projected $30 million a year extension that we expect to happen at any point this summer. It doesn't make sense for the 49ers to add another expensive multi-year deal out of the books. It just doesn't. Now, it's important to remember that the 2 top candidates for the 49ers to trade for, who are Danielle Hunter from the Vikings and Chase Young from the Commanders, each of those guys only has 1 year left on their current contract. So in theory, they'd be great candidates for a 1-year rental. They get traded to San Francisco, they play here for a year, they play really well, and then they earn a giant contract somewhere else and they leave. You know, that seems like a great idea, especially for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. But I don't think that makes a lot of sense for San Francisco right now. The 49ers have a cap problem. How are they going to fix it? The best way to do that is to draft well. You bring in good young players so that you can let your expensive veteran players go. And you don't see a giant drop-off in success. That's how it works. That's how good teams stay good, you know? They draft well. Oh, but Brady, the 49ers do draft well. I agree. They do draft well. But trading for a top-flight edge rusher, trading for a premier guy, makes that more difficult because those guys are going to be expensive. I think either Young or Hunter, the package for those guys would start with a 2nd round pick. It'd be a 2nd rounder and more. Keep in mind, 49ers got Christian McCaffrey for a 2nd rounder and more. And that's a guy who's, first of all, arguably the best player at his position in the entire league. And second of all, a guy who's going to be on this team for a couple of years. He was here last year. He's going to be here this year. And I would hazard a guess that he'll be here the year after that too. That's 2.5 years of contributions and high-level contributions. If you're paying that kind of premium for only 1 year of that level of contribution, I don't think that's a good move, and I don't think that's a move that makes sense. especially when you've got Drake Jackson, who's already on your team and ready to take the next step. I mean, okay, how many times are we going to doubt Kyle Shanahan's player development skills? How many times? Seriously. Like, let's look at the offensive line, right? Going into last season, Aaron Banks and Jake Brendel had combined 11 offensive snaps over their entire careers. 11. Between two guys. That's insane. And it's even more insane when you realize that they played 16 games and 17 games respectively, and they played at a fringe Pro Bowl level. Brendel was a Pro Bowl alternate, and you could argue that Banks could have been. That's ridiculous. That's amazing development. And let's look at Talanoa Hufanga. His rookie year, he plays behind Jaquiski Tartt, who is a fine player. He's not in the league really right now, so that goes to show what his level of talent is. And where's Hufanga? Oh yeah, first team All-Pro. I think it's fair to assume that, yeah, Drake Jackson is going to be pretty good for the 49ers. Yeah, he is going to be a solid starter. He's going to be the next guy to take that leap. Because I trust Shanahan when it comes to that. Now, okay, nothing's guaranteed, right? We won't know until we see it on the field. We can't know. But what I do know is that bringing in another edge rusher, like a Chase Young or a Danielle Hunter, that only pushes back Drake Jackson's development curve. It pushes it back by a year. And that development curve gets really important when you realize all the retooling that the 49ers are going to have to do. I mean, think about it. In that cap-crunching, money-saving situation, Drake Jackson is the exact kind of guy that the 49ers want. Guys who are starters, who are cheap, and who are really good. Now, listen, if they end up trading for Chase Young or Danielle Hunter and they win a Super Bowl, I'm not going to complain, right? That would be stupid. I'm not going to get on here and throw a hissy fit because they didn't win a championship. They didn't do it the right way. That's dumb. I'm all for them getting good players, right? But I think that trading for a guy like that is not the best way to go about this. Now let's talk free agency, because Chase Young and Danielle Hunter are only two of the names that have been, thrown out and floated by 49er fans. If we're talking free agency, there's, first of all, a lot more options available. Two of those potential guys were Frank Clark and Leonard Floyd. Unfortunately, both of them have signed. Clark to the Broncos and Floyd to the Bills, if I'm not mistaken. And if you look at those contracts, they're each 1 year long, roughly $6 million. If that's the price tag for one of these other still available guys like Yannick Ngakoue, Jadeveon Clowney, Justin Houston, Jason Pierre-Paul, that kind of guy, I love that move for quite a few reasons. First of all, cheap, love it. Second of all, these are all guys who will rotate in behind Drake Jackson. So they'll fill that 700 snap vacancy, and you get all the positives of a veteran leader in the locker room, but you don't have anybody taking away the starting job from Jackson and hampering his development. And third, you don't have to give up any draft picks for them. You get to keep all your draft picks. And fourth, if they leave the following year, if they play well enough and they get a big enough contract, they might actually gain you draft picks through the compensatory pick formula. It makes infinitely more sense to me to do that than to add somebody through the trade market. And now, okay, listen, like I said before, if they add somebody via trade and they win the Super Bowl or whatever, I get it. Adding good players is a good way to win games. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to moan. But this is just my opinions. This is how I see it. I think it makes more sense to do it through free agency than the trade market. And now if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. Tell me why I'm stupid. Tell me why I'm dumb. Tell me why I'm a fake Niner fan. Once again, this has been Brady from Niner Talk, and I will see you all in the next one.